and I apologise right now. I'm going to hit you with the cons. So, the cons of should I collect Warhammer? Yeah, you guessed it, first one. It's expensive. It's an expensive hobby. I've said it before, I'll say it right now. Warhammer or miniatures, they're my most expensive hobby that I have. My most expensive hobby. They're more expensive than knife collecting for me. They're more expensive than collecting watches. They're more expensive than my video games. And I do have a lot of video games. They're very expensive. They always have been. Always have been. It can cost £28 or $43 or $50 for 5 models. 5 models right there. $50. That's a lot of money on essentially little plastic soldiers. Let's face it. But I think, as an adult now, maybe not as a well, definitely as a child, I thought they were really cool. But as an adult now, they are definitely worth it. Why? Because I've still got all the miniatures and models I had when I was a child, and they're worth a lot more. And I'm trying to turn this con into a positive thing in that it is an investment and that I've still got all my models. And you can't say that about video games, alright? I have sunk £70–80 on one video game, like a special edition or something, played it for a few days, that's it, gone. Got the achievements, completed the main story, did some multiplayer, gone. With these, you don't get that. You don't... They've always got rules for them, and if they haven't, you can go back and use the rules before, and still, you have still got something at the end of the day. You've still got a model, a miniature. Whereas video games, you might as well just sell that video game. Which is strange, because I don't sell any of mine. But anyway, so it can be expensive. You may need additional items. And that's part of being expensive. You definitely need glue. You may need clippers to clip them off the sprues, but you'll definitely need glue. You may need a modelling knife to clean up the mould lines. You may need a spray to base spray them, paint them. You'll obviously need the paints and the brushes and cases to put them in. They're not that cheap. So all the additional items can add to that cost, unfortunately. If you want to play games, hang on, have I written that down somewhere? No, I haven't. Ooh, okay. If you want to play games, you may need a battle board, and I will be doing another video, not today, but in the small future, of you have decided to get into the hobby. What do you buy? What you know, you've made your decision, you've looked through my pros and cons, you've made a list yourself, and you've now decided to get into the hobby. So what do you get? I'll leave that with you there. But anyway, you may decide to buy a board, or do it yourself and make a board. I've got a couple of boards to my left that I've made myself with the rolled up flock, which is the grass. These boards here are boards that I've bought, Realm of Battle boards. So, and one of those Realm of Battle boards, which is sufficient to play normal games on, with a scenery painting pack, it's about £200. An army can be £100 to £200, especially with all of the glue and the brushes and paints you may need. So it is expensive, and you might need additional items to make the most of it. As I said, next point, my most expensive hobby. Price increases. This is a big one. I've written it down there. Price increases. Nearly every year models are becoming more expensive. And this is mainly because Games Workshop are the market leader. They set the prices. They can do that. And I have found out that they increase the prices for one area, whether it be paints or specific models, specific armies, and then the next year they'll increase the price on another area, and then the third year another area, and then on the fourth year they'll go back to that first one and increase the price. So, but there are price increases, I know that. When I was a child, a box of these, they were not as good models, but they were on paper the same model. A box of Terminators would cost, which is what these models are, would cost about £15 for 5. They're now £28. So there's a £13 price increase. They may well say, well, we have to cover it because of inflation. I don't buy that, unfortunately. I don't think they're going up because of that. I do think that they're going up because their models are becoming much more detailed, and their plastics are becoming much more detailed, and they are the world leader in very small, manufacturing very small pieces of plastic with the big moulds and with the computer-aided design, and trying to squeeze them as many pieces onto one plastic sprue. So it's kind of justifiable, but it's going to sting more if you live like in Australia or maybe in America. It might sting you a bit more. So price increases, they're just something that happens. So there we go. And you may need an extra board to play. Yeah, well, I've covered that already. You don't necessarily need one. You could use your carpet floor if you measured it out appropriately. You could just have a piece of wood, a board basically, paint it green, have that as your board. Use baked bean cans or whatever as your scenery. You can really cheap it out, but you can still play a game. You can still have fun. So that's that. Your hobby store may be far away. Your hobby store may be far away. So with that, I mean, my local store is a good hour drive away. It's a fairly long way away, and they're good places to go and chat to the staff and other enthusiasts about what they're collecting and what's coming out and all the usual things. And that may be an issue for you, but obviously with the advent of the internet, you can always order your things online, and there's a lot of independent stockists that will stock Games Workshop products now, and they normally have representatives from Games Workshop visit them and continue to talk to them. So that's a very good positive, turning it into a positive, even though your store may be far away. So that might be far away to play a game if you don't want to buy a board, or you don't want to make a board. And finally, you may need friends. Not in general, but you just may need friends who also do the hobby. It's going to be difficult to play games by yourself, seeing as it is a two plus kind of player game. So you may need to speak to your friends about collecting. They may already be interested. They may go halves on an army with you, and then you can take it in turns to battle people. I don't know what your agreement is, and there's still a stigma attached. Believe it or not, there is still a stigma of wargaming, that it's satanic or that it's very, very nerdy. Aren't we all nerds nowadays? Nerds used to be just on the computers or into the Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. No offence, please. But now we're all kind of nerds. We all carry around smartphones where we can just search on the internet. We all can use computers quite well. University, it's difficult nowadays to get through university without using computers. Jobs, you need to use word processing and emails all the time. So in a way we're all kind of nerds, but however there's still a stigma attached to the wargaming and collecting the little figures. Some people just don't see it cool, but I think that they were actually missing out. Anyway, that's my pros, that's my cons. Join me in this next part, part 3, when I go through a tick list on should I collect Warhammer. But before then, I've just got to charge this camera because it's running dry.